Hello, students. My name is Professor Nitin Kumar from Department of Physics, IIT Bombay. My job is to convince you guys to why you should join my group, right? As you know, I work in the field of experimental soft condensed matter, also active matter and living matter. And I will try to motivate you by telling you a few things and asking you basically a couple of questions, okay? If you think these questions excite you or they are too trivial for you, then it's okay. But I would like to convince you that these are like cutting edge research areas in the field of physics currently, and there is a lot of scope here. Okay, so so like I said, I use the word soft condensed matter physics, right? So I hope you all know what is physics, right? Physics is our mathematical way of understanding how universe works, right? And then there is a word I use, matter. And you must know matter is collection of atoms and molecules. Then I use the word condensed. And condensed is what? Where these atoms and molecules, they are attracted to each other, typically using electrostatic forces. And condensed matter phases, typically we talk about liquids and solids and so on. Okay. But then I also use the word soft. Okay. So basically I'm trying to explain what is soft condensed matter. Okay. So in typical condensed matter, say any crystalline iron block or even water. Okay, so the interactions between the molecules, the individual constituents, is typically originating from electrostatic forces, right? For example, in sodium chloride, you have a sodium ion and a chlorine ion. They have a very strong bond between each other. In water, we have hydrogen bonding and so on and so forth. Okay, but so therefore, we actually can classify materials very easily. You have solid, you have liquid, and so on. But let me ask you one question. What is toothpaste? Okay. It's not very easy answer, right? Toothpaste, sometimes to some people it might feel very solid like, to some people it might feel very liquid like. Okay. And the answer to this is basically kind of known in the sense when we talk about when we discuss phases in physics, we inherently assume that the forces are electrostatic, the bond energy is very high, so therefore you have crystalline solids, for example. But when I said toothpaste, the individual constituents are not atoms or ions anymore. They are like huge molecules or even polymers, and they are typically attracted to each other by very weak van der Waals forces. Okay, so that basically changes the elastic properties of that material, and therefore we call them soft. Essentially, you can just by the energy scales of the order of kBt, you can perturb these systems, and these are known as soft condensed matter materials. Okay, so it's quite well known in nowadays, and there are other examples like clay or putty or even the dough that you make at home, right? For making chapatis. Okay, now let me ask you one more question. So and you can pause, you can maybe think for like 10-15 seconds. So can any of you tell me which phase of matter we belong to, right? So am I a solid or a liquid? Okay, I mean, if you want, you can pause, but I'll directly go to the answer. And actually, the answer to this question is actually not that easy. And I'll tell you why. There is a fundamental reason. So when we talk about non-living systems like my water bottle or anything which is non-living around me, like I said, as you know, the individual constituents are atoms and molecules. And what do atoms and molecules do? If you really zoom into them using a microscope, they are actually jiggling around. They are doing random walk, Brownian motion as we call it, right? And why are they doing Brownian motion? Because if you have done course in statistical mechanics, they are these dynamical properties. They can be actually calculated by the formalism of statistical mechanics using canonical ensemble, right? So you have your system, which is an atom, and it is in contact with a huge heat bath at temperature T. And its dynamical properties, in which state it will be dictated by the temperature of the system. It will be exponentially distributed. As you know, there is a Boltzmann factor and so on. But on the other hand, if you talk about me, I'm made up of these cells, right? And cells are fundamentally different, right? Atoms and molecules are not living, they're dead. They are just in contact with heat bath. That is what's making them move. But cells in my skin, they're fundamentally different. They are consuming food and they are releasing heat and they are moving even, right? And do you know what are how do we classify such things? These are engines, these are motors. You must have read the Carnot engine, right? So you put high temperature reservoir, low temperature reservoir, and there is a mechanical device which can do some work. Similarly, our cells, or even if you go to bigger scale, right, tissues, even myself, me as a whole human being, I am actually a machine. I operate between a chemical potential, which is at a higher chemical potential because I eat food. I extract heat, or I extract heat from that. I do work and I dissipate rest of the heat into the environment, right? So I'm a basically an engine operating between two chemical potential reservoirs. And and not just me, even the tiniest collection of cells, they operate like that. So I'm not really a collection of entities which behave like atoms and molecules. I'm collection of tiny machines which we call cells, right? You have like trillions of cells inside you. That is very fundamental to to what we are trying to understand, right? In all the MSc courses, I mean, you must have not heard the word life, right? The concept of being living, the concept of being operating between two reservoirs and doing some work onto your surroundings. And it turns out all the living systems, they behave like that. All the living systems are collections of even tinier living systems. And the formulation or formalism of such systems is missing in physics. And this is what's now classified as physics of life. Okay, this is a very emerging field. We are at very exciting phase of, I mean, it's really the cutting edge, right? It's really an unsolved problem in our understanding of the universe, how life emerges. That is what drives us. Okay, and like and being alive, or there is another word. Okay, so there is one way that I am actually living, but you can also create artificial systems which behave like these tiny motors. Okay, for example, your car, when you drive it, it's not living, but its motion is not really Brownian, it's not dictated by the temperature bath. Okay, so such things we call active particles, okay, which feel like they are living but they are actually not. Okay, uh, and I give one this very, very silly example as well. You must have seen this lizard gecko, like wall geckos, and they shed their tails once in a while when they are in danger. And it confuses you because tail moves like it's alive, and the lizard, the gecko runs away. So the difference between the tail and the gecko is still alive, but tail is not alive. Tail is moving because it has some biological components in it which make it move as if it is still out of equilibrium. It is still living. So the tail part you can call active matter, the gecko living part you can call living matter, but the properties of them are very similar. That is why your cat or dog or even us get confused, and they can like run away. Anyway, so that's essentially what we do in our lab. I'm not saying we kill geckos or anything. Our aim is to now create these tiny machines or motors, and what we do is we make robots in our lab. Okay, robots are an excellent example of active or even a living matter in some sense, right? So we eat food and we move. Robots have a battery, they consume energy from the battery and they move. And it turns out our robots, maybe I can share my just two slides. um, I hope these are visible. So just a second, I'll just ensure that. Okay, I'm not sure. Let me just share my whole thing. Yeah. So this is what it looks like, right? So these are our robots. So we make these, I mean, this is a published work. We make these big robots in our lab. And the good thing about them is they are run by Arduino microcontroller. We can program them to behave in a certain way. Okay. They have IR sensors. They can react to environment just like living organisms do, right? So if we feel danger, we run away. Similarly, these robots can be programmed to do the similar thing, and we can feed signals in terms of light or even through their LIs and their infrared sensors and so on. Okay, so you can call them our living building blocks for something even bigger, right? So if we take collection of these robots, can it mimic a living organism? Okay, so these are the kind of things we are trying to do in our lab. I hope that was clear, and of course you can always visit my website to know a little bit more about it. And these are some publications that have emerged out of our lab. And of course there are other things also that go on in our lab I'm not really discussing, but this is what the major chunk of our scientific exploration goes towards. Okay, thank you so much. Feel free to contact me if you have any question. I would love to reply to your questions, your doubts, and I wish you all the best. And if these questions do excite you, I urge you to maybe Google or like do some search, and just try to get to know about this really new field of physics. Okay, and if you happen to join my lab, you will be doing a lot of course, playing with robots. There will be a lot of image analysis techniques you will be using. Of course, we code as well for various like analysis, etc. And and one very important thing that I always focus on, we have these regular group meetings. I will work my best to improve your communication skills, because they are absolutely very important for whatever you do in your life. Okay, and by the end of your PhD, if you do a good job, of course you should be self-driven, self-motivated. I'll be there to help you. I will be like your friend and colleague, and we will be doing exciting science together. And by the end of your PhD, you should be capable of navigating a new research area on your own, and you will become an independent scientist. That is what a successful PhD is, in my understanding, in my definition. Okay, so again, feel free to contact me if you have any question. I hope this small presentation was helpful for you. I wish you all the best. Thank you.